influence. The kinds of power that he exerts most in his position seem to be that of legitimate power and expert power. Being the CEO, it makes sense for Sujihara to use legitimate power on a day-to-day basis, since it entails power that is based on position and mutual agreement between the superiorly placed agent, Sujihara, and a target, which could constitute any employee underneath him. Sujihara also seems to harness a certain level of expert power. As the former longtime head of the home entertainment division for Warner Brothers, Sujihara is known throughout the company to possess a lot of technical knowledge, especially when it comes to things like the distribution of video games and other digital entertainment, licensing, anti-piracy measures, etc. Upon his arrival as CEO, Sujihara implemented a new management structure in which 3 heads of WB form a committee that report directly to him. Variety.com explained the reason for the structure switch as follows. In a major departure from the way that the Burbank studio has operated in the past, Sujihara's new management structure will give him direct say-so over key decisions, including which projects receive the green light. With this new alignment, Kevin shows his propensity for legitimate power over even the most prestigious of his employees, setting up an agreement to where he gets ultimate vote over major company decisions. His use of power seems effective and useful to him, seeing as there have been no public employee backlash, rather more praise for the CEO, even after he came under fire in the press for several employee layoffs that came about in an effort to reduce company overhead costs. As far as influence tactics go, it would seem that Kevin Sujihara is most acquainted with using inspirational appeals and rational persuasion to influence third parties. This is most apparent in his convincing of J.K. Rowling to expand on the Harry Potter universe, something that will eventually result in a separate movie trilogy. Rowling had prior said that she was completely done writing in the Harry Potter universe. Yet, after a dinner and 1 follow-up phone call, Sujihara was able to convince her to expand, showcasing his ability to rationally persuade her to the lucrative result of her continuing her writing, as well as providing inspirational appeals, saying that no other writer but her could develop on her own universe. Because of the results and her agreement, as well as his underdog rise to CEO of Warner Brothers, I think it is safe to say that Sujihara is a very influential figure and is effective in his tactics. It seems that he tries to encourage organizational politics as well throughout Warner Brothers, as he exerts his own power and influence through his calm demeanor and encourages other leaders in the company to utilize theirs when delegating to head employees of each region, which can especially be seen through his methods of restructuring Warner Brothers with regards to layoffs. In his memo to employees, he described how his involvement with restructuring the company was delegated mainly to the heads of each department, and although he watched over each aspect, he trusted each employee's personal judgment and respected their ability to use power and influence over their departments. Here's Yuri to speak on behalf of Sujihara's impact on Warner Brothers' financial performance.
Now we're going to take a look at Warner Brothers' financial performance over the past 5 years or so. First, we're going to start off with stock price. We looked at stock price because it's the factor that directly relates to our investors here at Warner Brothers. The stock price of a company is a good measure of how well it's doing in the market compared to other companies that are in the same industry, as well as to just market conditions in general. Also, if the stock price increases consistently over time, which you will see later on in the presentation that it has, it shows consistent growth from the company and that we are adding value to our shareholders, which is essential if we want to have a good relationship with stockholders. The second condition we're going to look at is box office growth. And we looked at box office growth because we are interested in the company's ability to increase sales and profits while keeping costs consistent. If a movie studio is able to do this, it adds more cash value to the company, and the company should see an increase over the quarter or over every year. The company is doing well in the industry compared to other competitors, and that is treating its customers well with what it is offering to them, as opposed to what they don't want to see. If they like a movie and they want to go see it, more box office revenue for us, which is good, and we like to please our customers. And the final condition we're going to look at is the number of films produced. We look at this because it is a measure of performance to see how well a company is doing. If over time a company is producing more and more films, it's obvious that the company has more resources, more money to invest into more films for the public. And then if we see a sudden decline in the number of films, it could be speculation as to, oh, maybe they're not doing as well as they could be, or maybe they just want to conserve and tighten the belt around spending resources and see if they can get better quality out of what they're producing. So first, if you want to head on over to the screen here, we have a little background that Warner Brothers is in fact owned by parent company Time Warner. They are a multimedia conglomerate, meaning that they own a lot of different media outlets such as AOL, Time Warner Cable, HBO, Warner Brothers, etc. And when we look later at our stock price, it's going to be a cumulative stock offering, not just Warner Brothers in general, but it's going to be all of Time Warner, all of the companies that are owned by it. First, we're going to start off with stock price. As we mentioned before, Warner Brothers is owned by Time Warner, and they own a bunch of other subsidiaries here and there. But so as we see the note down here, the quotes are generated from daily values around January 1st of each year. That's how we got these values that we were able to chart, because as you know, stocks are very volatile, so we wanted to make it easier for you to understand how we're doing, how Time Warner in general is doing. As we see here, we started in 2010 with a stock price of about $28, and consistently over the next 4 years or so, we have risen up to a moderately high stock value of $68.67. Things that I can attribute to this are the good performance of companies that Time Warner owns, such as Warner Brothers, AOL, etc., that I mentioned before. Also, the news of a possible takeover with Comcast back in the 2013 calendar year. It was a speculation that raised stock prices for both Time Warner and Comcast, because people were speculating here and there whether this deal was going to go down or not. And that's a possible contribution that we could see this spike here between 2012 and the end of 2013. Next, we're going to look at box office revenue, specifically for Warner Brothers Studios. Here we have a graph indicating box office revenue from the entirety of 2009 to the entirety of 2013. And we see kind of a little fluctuation here and there, especially here in the 2009 and to 2010 season, and as well from 2011 to 2012. But with the appointment of new CEO Kevin Tsujihara, right in the beginning of 2013, we see a spike in revenue from the box office. And although it is not clear that all of this gained revenue throughout the year can be attributed to what he's done for the company and his performance, it's a safe bet to say that possibly the news of a new CEO in the company has increased customer willingness to go see new films that were popping out from the company. For example, the Lego Movie itself generated well over $257 million in box office revenue. Also eclipsing the $200 million mark was the movie Godzilla. So it shows that while the quantity of films produced has decreased, the quality of the films has increased because more and more customers want to go see them. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the number of films produced. As you can see here in the graph, starting in 2009 to 2010 and 11, we have a consistent 33 films produced per year. And then we have a spike of one more in 2012, which isn't too much to shrug or grin at. And then in 2013, we see a decrease by 3 films, which is down to 31 films per year. But as I said earlier, the reduced quantity of films, limits the amount of resources that we use, and also, given the amount of revenue that we made in the past calendar year, it also shows that we are doing very well with our films and producing great quality cinema that people want to go see. These films that we discussed earlier have already been in progress before he took over, but the top management, the team management approach that he is instilling here at Warner Brothers is a great way to start off his tenure as CEO. And he started off right off the bat with announcing that Warner Brothers will be reducing operating costs by almost $200 million a year. Another positive thing that he's doing is ushering the digital age. As we discussed earlier in the video, he's doing a lot of things to bring more digital content into Warner Brothers and providing that digital content in an easier, faster, and oftentimes cheaper way to customers so they can enjoy it in the comfort of their own homes. Now we're going to send it over to Gretchen, who's going to finish up reviewing the financial